It's time for ROTD Weekend. I know I've told you that my kids are doing more cooking this year. They've gone back to school. They've had 2 full weeks. They're starting week 3 this Monday. And every week that they're with me, they each have to cook us dinner. And I'm going to tell you, they've been practicing cooking this summer or learning to cook this summer quite a bit. They were cooking recipes from my websites, kind of like one would be in the kitchen every second day cooking something, and then I'd work that into our dinner somehow. They learned a ton. They made delicious things. There were chicken wings. There was a meatloaf. There was a really creamy mac and cheese, all kinds of stuff. But what I hadn't really thought through was that neither of them, nor my bonus teenager, I have 3 teenagers with me this school year, none of them really has a lot of practice making a full meal. So I had them sign up for what they wanted to make. Like, here's a little sign up sheet. There were some rules, like we're only having pasta one night. We'll only have beef maximum one night. We're going to have fish at least one night. Like that kind of thing. There's these little rules just so that they don't all sign up to make spaghetti. You know what I mean? So they have these little rules and they sign up for stuff. And then they started cooking and it was more complicated for them than I realized it would be. And that is on me. Absolutely. I hadn't really looked carefully at what they'd chosen. I mean, I grocery shopped for it, but I hadn't thought through where the complicating or sticking points would be for them. I was like, yeah, you guys know how to cook these things for sure. Go for it. And I was kind of available to help, but it was a little bit stressful. And so I did a lot of thinking as they were signing up for the coming week's meals. I thought more about the timing of things and what I'm calling in my head unbusy suppers. Just those really easy dinner meals, casual suppers that don't have a lot of different things going on at once. Or if there are different components, figuring out ahead of time how to stagger them so that you're not doing anything that involves monitoring at the same time as something else that involves monitoring or actively doing, right? So as they signed up this week, I was giving a little bit more guidance and trying to help them choose things that would be a little bit easier. And you know what? I thought if it's going to be easy enough for my new teen chefs to do these meals, maybe you want to know what they are too, because, we all can use those just unbusy, relaxing cooking days where instead of, juggling 3 pots in a pan, you're just kind of leaning on the counter while things happen. You know what I mean? So the meal that I'm telling you about now, actually, I'm just realizing this was not well planned on my part. One of the recipes is not up on Cook the Story yet. It goes up on Monday, but of course, my kids have access to all of my scribbled notebooks and printouts and things, even if they're not live on the site. So it works for them, and I will tell you how to do it also, even though the recipe's not there, but you'll get it. It's going to be on Cook the Story on Monday. So the meal is baked lemon garlic shrimp with Italian cauliflower salad and Instant Pot rice. So simple, but so many delicious flavors going on. What you're doing is you are mixing together cauliflower florets with Italian salad dressing. I'm going to link to my Italian cauliflower salad recipe, which does have a version if you want to make your own dressing instead of the store-bought, but you could just do the store-bought, and then we like a little sprinkle of shredded mozzarella cheese on there. I quite like a little red onion on there as well. So you mix that up, and then that goes in the fridge. It's just going to marinate and get better. And then you're going to cook up some rice. I'm saying do it in the Instant Pot or in your rice cooker so that you get it going, and then it is hands off. And now you've got your 2 side dishes just kind of going, and you don't have to worry about them. And then the shrimp are baked. So why would you bake shrimp? The reason in this case is that they're just a little bit more forgiving. If you are going to do shrimp in a saute pan, as you know, they cook really quickly, and then they can actually start to firm up and be less juicy if you leave them too long in there. And so if you're trying to figure out how to time everything else, make sure the table's set, is everybody ready to eat, all of that kind of thing, these actually can be in the oven for an extra minute or 2. It's not going to matter. When you pull pull their pan out of the oven and sit it on like a trivet or on the stove, just sort of like there. They're staying warm in that pan, but they're not like crazy cooking the way that they would be if they were in that really hot saute pan. So it's just a very like leisurely way to cook the shrimp. And I'll just do this very quickly for you because it is actually an episode of our daily recipe of the day this week. So you're going to hear it in more detail, but you're getting a quarter cup of butter with a quarter teaspoon of red pepper flakes, 3 cloves of minced garlic, and that is going into a 9x11 baking dish in a 350-degree Fahrenheit oven just until the butter is melted, and then you leave it for another 2 minutes so that the butter is infusing with the garlic and the flavors. You take that out of the oven, and then you add 1.5 pounds of peeled and deveined shrimp with a little bit of salt, stir and flip them in the butter, put them back into the oven until they are pink and opaque and curled up, and that's going to be about 10 to 12 minutes. Give them a stir halfway through. Now, after that, like I said, there's a little bit of like leeway in there, but when you take them out, you're going to put a little bit of lemon juice on there, and you can do some fresh parsley, and then just make sure that you're really mixing that all back together because that garlic butter and all that flavor is in there. But yeah, just very like hands-off shrimp dinner. And then you have that cauliflower salad that is nice and cold and crisp in the fridge, and your rice will be done by then as well. So everything is ready at once. Okay, so that is my unbusy supper for you and for my kids. I hope you give it a try and just, stand at the counter. Maybe you're sipping on a glass of wine or talking to somebody you love, but your brain is not frantically doing anything. Now, my guest today, I am playing an interview from the archives for you because this back to school season has been kicking my butt. I have a little bit less time, and this is a wonderful conversation. I'm talking with Amber Guinness about her beautiful cookbook, Italian Coastal, and the recipe she shares with us is kind of like a make-ahead dessert that I think my kids and you would definitely be able to fit in with this Italian cauliflower shrimp meal that we had going on. It is all going to fit together beautifully. Okay, let's listen to my conversation with Amber Guinness. Amber Guinness, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on, Christine. It's so lovely to be here.
I'm so excited because you have this new book out that is focused on Italian cuisine, but specific part of Italian cuisine. It's beautiful. Can you tell us a little bit about the book?
Thank you. Yes. So the book is called Italian Coastal, and it is about the food, the cuisine, the history, and the mythology of the Tyrrhenian Sea. So it's quite a specific part of the Italian coast. Italy has over 6,000 kilometers of coastline. So this isn't kind of the definitive guide to the Italian coast, because it would be a much bigger tome if it was. But it is about the Tyrrhenian Sea, the Mar Tirreno in Italian, which starts on the southern coast of Tuscany, goes all the way down the west coast of Italy, past all those blockbuster spots like Amalfi, Capri, Positano, and goes right down to northern Sicily and has Sardinia in the west. So it's kind of enclosed, I feel, by a lot of Italy's most beautiful places that have the most amazing and exciting food culture. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a lot to do with the fact that there are 3 active volcanoes in this part of the world. You have Vesuvius in Naples, you have Stromboli in the Aeolian Islands just north of Sicily, and then in the east coast of Sicily you have Etna. And what that means is that obviously the soil is very rich with minerals, and you have all this kind of amazing volcanic energy and amazing produce. This is a part of the world that is blessed with some of the best produce in the world. There's a reason that Naples is famous for having the best tomatoes. And yeah, so it's kind of a book about celebrating the food culture of these places and trying to get across that feeling of the salt drying on your skin as you sit eating a plate of pasta with a cold glass of wine in your hand, looking at the sea, and how that is just one of the most magical feelings in the world.
It really is. I don't now. I already feel like I'm there because you just put me there. That's wonderful. So what inspired you to do, obviously this wonderful food, this wonderful culture, but like, why are you the person writing this book? Why did you want to take this on?
So I grew up in southern Tuscany, inland, about an hour and a half inland, just south of Siena. I went to school there till I was 13. And I suppose Italian summer life, a huge part of it is beach life. because obviously wherever you are, you're not too far away from the sea and it gets so incredibly hot in the summer. So we always used to pack up the car and go for day trips or for longer stints to the southern Tuscan coast, which is the start of the Mediterranean. And I just remember then, as I got older, being drawn south and kind of exploring different places along these coastlines, swimming off a little beach on an island called Salina, which is one of the Aeolian Islands, this cluster of 7 volcanic islands just north of Sicily. And I was swimming and just feeling like, oh, this place is so magical. And then realizing that actually it's all united by the same body of water, and kind of being really interested in what connected these places, what food cultures, what grows, etc., and realizing that it shares the same produce but all has incredibly different culinary traditions, which might have been, dictated by who they were colonized by, their levels of prosperity over the centuries, like how much access they had to the outside world. And that just really fascinated me. And I'm very lucky because I'm bilingual, so I'm able to have kind of conversations that maybe other people don't have, and kind of, I don't know, I've made lots of friends along the way, and I've just kind of been going to these parts of the world all my life, really.
I'm so envious. That's so great. Okay, can you give me an example and tell me if this question doesn't even make sense, but like, is there a way to exemplify how the food, the culinary tradition in this area is like different but the same? Do you know what I mean? Like, is there something that you're like, we're doing this thing, but in these different ways, something like that?
Well, so quite a good example is eggplant. So I don't know if you're familiar with lots of Sicilian eggplant dishes, marry the eggplant with tomato, like that's its usual bedfellow. So you have like pasta alla norma, like, which is, pasta with eggplant, lots of tomato, basil, mozzarella, or smoked ricotta, or melanzana parmigiana, so eggplant layers with mozzarella, tomato, etc. And that's because the tomatoes on Sicily are so delicious. The eggplants are famously delicious. It's still the kind of biggest eggplant growing region in Italy. Whereas I went to a town called Spidlonga on the coast of Lazio, which is the region that Rome is in. So it's quite sort of central part of Italy. And on that coastline, they have a town called Gaeta, where they're very, very famous for growing olives, which are they're kind of little compact violet colored olives, very similar to the Greek Kalamata variety, really flavorsome, really delicious. And there I had this amazing pasta dish, which actually I have the recipe for in the book, which was so unusual because it didn't have eggplant and tomato. It had eggplant and black olives, white wine, flaked almonds, and lots of lemon zest. And I was just so kind of thrilled. Even me, who's lived in Italy her whole life and knows about the cuisine, is pretty knowledgeable about it, I hope. And yet even I was surprised by something I was eating, by a flavor combination that's been presented to me, which we'll go back to later with my surprise recipe that we'll talk about. But, so it's just nice to have these classics which have a little bit of a twist on them, I think, because of what grows there. In this case, it was the olives.
Yeah. No, I love that. That's so beautiful. Okay, so the book you've written is not just recipes. There's also history and there's little stories in there too. It's so charming. Would you be willing to share a little story from the book?
Yeah, of course. So there's 7 breakout chapters. Each of them is kind of about a place that means a lot to me, or that I think is really special, or I just think is kind of amazing in these parts of the world. One of the stories from the book I think that's really fun is the idea of there's kind of a lot of competition along this coast because it's so ancient, because you have it was colonized by the Greeks, by the Etruscans, by the Romans, by everyone over the past few thousand years. There's quite a lot of competition about who is older. and so again, on this coast of Lazio, there's a promontory called Monte Circeo, which is named that because it's supposed to be where the sort of witch Circe's island is. I don't know if you're familiar with Greek mythology, but there's sort of half nymph, half goddess Circe who was banished to an island, and that's apparently where it was meant to be. And there's a town called San Felice, and they have all these amazing Greek temples, and even the other day found kind of Neolithic remains, so kind of the first iterations of man. But just up the coast, there's a kind of juxtaposition because there's a town that was built in the 30s by Mussolini, and so super, super modern, looks like, when you think of kind of fascist architecture, you're like, oh, okay, that is what this village is.
Yeah.
But it happens to have the best food market in the region on a Tuesday or something. And I was there, and I was said to this lady who was telling me about the remains and the history of San Felice. And I sort of went, oh, I'm going to go to Sabaudia, to the food market. And she sort of looked at me and scoffed and was like, Sabaudia, non è antica. It's not ancient. I just love this kind of like, why would you bother with that place? I'm like, well, they have the best vegetables and fish pan.
Oh, that's so great. Yeah. Yeah, no, the pride in how old they are and how historical they are, or how like amazing things happen there. And I love the claiming the mythology. Like this is,
I know, exactly. Like particularly when like it belongs to the Greeks, really.
oh, so much great stuff in this cookbook. You've brought a surprise recipe for me today. Yes. Is it from the book?
Yes, it's from the book.
Oh,
It's from the dessert chapter. Am I allowed? I've
oh.
said it now. Don't know if I was allowed to say that.
Yeah, yeah. No, okay, yeah. Tell me what it is. I'm excited.
I can tell you what it is.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, you can tell me.
it is tiramisu ai lamponi, raspberry tiramisu,
Oh.
which is, as I was saying earlier, what I love about this coastline and research in this book is there are so many twists on Italian classics that kind of can still surprise you. Everyone thinks they know everything there is to know about Italian food, and yet there are still surprises out there. So raspberry tiramisu is what locals make in the summer when berries abound. They often make it with strawberries as well, and it is just so delicious, so fruity, so fresh and yummy, a bit obviously very different to the classic kind of coffee tiramisu that most people will have tried. And it's super easy, very quick to bring together. You know, it's a fun thing to make for a dinner party and to kind of surprise your guests. And then it's a bit of a talking point because they'll go, oh, tiramisu, but not like the one I've ever tried.
Yeah, okay. I'm
Yeah.
so excited about this because I'll tell you, my boyfriend loves tiramisu and I'm always like so on it. And
Interesting.
I'm not entirely sure. Maybe it's it's often bitter. And of course, we're in the States and we're not in Italy. It's often made in weird ways, right? Like you end up with Cool Whip, or do you even know what Cool Whip is? You end
Yes.
up with
Oh, no, what is Cool Whip? Is it like whipped cream?
It's a frozen whipped cream product.
Okay.
I don't even know.
That's not a tiramisu.
No, it's not a tiramisu. No, it's not. No, it's not. Yeah, all kind like, somebody will say, oh, we're having tiramisu. And I think in my head, oh no, what's going to happen now?
Ah, that's so
Or like
funny.
pudding, the Jello pudding, like what do you call it? Like in England, they call it angel food.
Trifle.
Yeah.
Trifle or fool? Yes. Raspberry fool.
Something like that. Or no, but the packets, it's like packets of powder that you mix with milk and it makes like a,
Oh, the custard.
yes, it makes like a custard. We
Custard,
call it
yeah.
pudding, but of course in England, all dessert is pudding and then we get confused. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, this is exciting. So it's going to be tiramisu. Does it still have coffee in it or it's just
No coffee.
No
It still
coffee.
has a bit of booze. So obviously in the classic one, you have coffee liqueur. This has marsala wine, which is a sweet dessert wine from Sicily.
I love marsala.
But you can use any dessert wine really. I mean, I've even used, when I haven't had marsala, I've even used like white wine that I've dissolved some sugar in. It works absolutely fine.
Oh, great.
And we categorically are using mascarpone. We're not using Cool Whip and we are not using custard.
Yay,
We're using
good.
mascarpone. So shall I read out the ingredients?
or where do you start when you're making it? What do you start with?
So what I start with is first things first, you want to kind of roughly chop up those raspberries, put them in a bowl, cover them in some of the marsala or in all of the marsala, which is about, kind of 4 ounces, I guess, and a tablespoon of sugar, caster sugar, and the juice of half a lemon. And then I just leave that to sit and to steep for at least an hour. But, if you do it the night before and do it the next day, that's probably better. So the juice of the raspberries mixes with the wine and the sugar melts and it all kind of amalgamates and steeps because you want that liquid, which is what we're using instead of coffee liqueur and coffee. You want it to be ruby red, all yummy and ready to dip the biscuits in. And
Can I ask how much raspberries are you using?
I am using 1 pound and 7 ounces, kind of just under 2 pounds, let's say, because you want it to be kind of generous.
Lots, yeah.
Lots. And then you get 4 eggs, you separate them, and you are going to whisk the remaining sugar, which is about 2.5 ounces, with the egg yolks. So you whisk the sugar with the egg yolks, and you do it for 2 to 3 minutes so that they get really sort of fluffy and pale and all the sugar's dissolved. So if you rub it between your fingers, you don't feel any granules of sugar anymore. Then you whisk in the mascarpone so that that's all amalgamated and pulled together. Then you put that to one side, get your egg whites and whisk those up. Very counterintuitively, I get for anyone who's made meringues, you do not want stiff peaks.
Oh.
You don't want to be able to do that trick where you can put it over your head and it doesn't fall on it. You want very soft peaks because if you do very stiff egg whites, your cream will be really set and the whole thing will be really, really dry. You won't get that kind of delicious, unctuous, creamy thing, which makes a really good tiramisu. Because the ladyfinger biscuits are doing that job for you anyway. They're giving a little bit of structure. You want the mascarpone cream to be creamy.
Oh, I love that. That's fascinating.
Yeah, so it's a bit different to meringue, I guess. And so then you mix that all together. Then you have that your cream's ready. You separate the raspberry from that beautiful ruby red juice that you've made with the wine. And I put it into a kind of shallow pasta bowl or whatever kind of vessel that's wide enough for you to dip the biscuits in, the liquid, I mean. And then you get whatever, you can either do individual portions in glasses, or I usually do just like one big dish because I kind of prefer family style and sharing and everyone helping themselves. And you get the ladyfinger biscuits. You put them sugar side down very briefly in that liquid. You don't want to drench them too much because otherwise you're going to get loads of liquid in the bottom of the dish, which is like not that nice. What you want to do, if you want to dip them quite quickly, then put them sugar side up. And because you're going to leave the tiramisu in the fridge for a few hours, you want that liquid to kind of move through. You want gravity to do that job of soaking them properly. You don't want to submerge them completely.
Can I ask you about the ladyfinger biscuits? Because I have a sense that they might be different in the various countries that we're in. Are they hard? Are they soft? What is their texture before you dip them?
They're kind of hard, and then they're a little bit crumbly inside, I guess. I don't know if that's how it is with you guys in the States. They come in like packets of 4 kind of plastic wrapped, in like a tower kind of thing, because they try and stop as much air getting to them as possible.
So I think that is what I grew up getting in Canada, and I would use them to make something like a tiramisu or to make a trifle, these various things. Here in Florida, or at least just at my local grocery stores, the things labeled ladyfingers are softer. Like they're, I'm trying to think of what the texture is. Not like a donut, but like almost donut-like, and they're a little wider.
Interesting.
And when I went to get them, and I was worried, like you want them kind of dry so that they soak up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I actually toasted them. I toasted them to get them to like harden up and use them, and they were okay. But I was like, part of me is wondering, oh, is this maybe what they're really like in Italy, and I've been wrong my whole life? Or
no. I think you've been absolutely right. I think the solution to that, would be to let them go stale and just take them out of the packet and leave them for a few days, and then they would be the same texture anyway. Yeah, because isn't that the definition between a biscuit and a cake is like one stales hard, one stales goes bendy. So like a biscuit will go bendy, whereas a cake, which these essentially are like little cakes, they'll go kind of hard. And then I think that would achieve the same solution, but toasting them is a good shortcut.
Yeah. I'm curious, actually, people who are listening, if you are in the States and use ladyfingers, let me know if they're hard, like what I grew up with and what Amber is using, or if they're these soft ones that they have in Florida. I'm really curious. Yeah. Okay, so you're dipping them in the liquid separate from the raspberries.
Dipping them sugar side down in the liquid and then putting them sugar side up in the dish that you're going to assemble your tiramisu in. And you cover the base with the dipped ladyfingers. You can, I break them as and when needed to get them to fit. Then I'll kind of scatter over some of those boozy soaked raspberries. Then I'll put about a third of the mascarpone cream over that. And then I'll do another layer of the ladyfingers, another layer of the raspberries, and another layer of cream to finish it off. And then finish it off with more of those boozy raspberries. And then I'll pop that in the fridge for at least 3 hours, if not overnight or all day. But I think 3 hours is probably necessary to get that lovely texture that we were talking about. If you just lightly dip the biscuit and then the liquid kind of travels down by gravity, it's a bit yummier.
And do you end up using all of the liquid? Like, is it all soaked up by the biscuits? Or
no, I often have a lot left over, and then I'll either make another one and later in the week, or I'll kind of keep it or
serve it over ice cream.
Serve it over ice cream. Yeah, or like put it in the freezer for kind of boozy cold ice lolly.
Do you put sauces on gelato ever, or is it just always eaten by itself?
It's normally eaten by itself. It's kind of becoming, in very touristy places, they'll have like chocolate spread melted over like Nutella or something. Okay, but kind of the classic gelato is just either in a cone or in a cup.
Just plain.
I'm trying to think. I actually, in Salina, which is one of those volcanic islands I was talking about earlier, they're very famous for growing capers, which are like, it's really interesting going somewhere like there where it's their kind of bread and butter export, because you realize like there are capers and then there are capers. Like there's so much variation and different qualities and things. And there, one of the things they do with them is they candy them, and they put them in this kind of black sugary treacle sauce, and then you can put that on ice cream and it's delicious.
Really? So
Mm.
are they brined before they're like I've only so
No,
I don't
so
even
they're
know what a
fresh
caper
when they're.
tastes like when it's fresh, so I don't even know what that would be like.
Have you ever had a salted caper? You know, like you can get them in brine and then you can get. So if you soak that caper for
Mm-hmm.
hours and hours and hours to get all the salt off,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that's kind of what a fresh caper
Oh.
tastes like. You still have that like umami kind of anchovy profile,
Mm-hmm.
just without the salt and the brine. And yeah, and then they treacle them and put them on toast with ricotta or ice cream, and it's
Wow.
really yummy.
That sounds delicious. Oh, that's like a whole
Mm.
other recipe. Well, the raspberry tiramisu sounds delicious, divine. Thank you so much for talking with me today. Can you let people know where they can find the book, where they can find you? I know your Instagram is stunning. I love your videos. Let
Oh,
people
thank
know all
you.
the places that they should come and see what you're up to.
Yeah, so my Instagram I'm very active on, and if anyone cooks anything from the book, I really love seeing photos. So please DM me, send them to me, tag me in them. I really just it's my favorite part of writing cookbooks is seeing people recreate those recipes at home. I have a website which is amberguinness.com. Not much happens on there, but do write to me if you'd like to. And the book is available at most good bookstores, Barnes and Noble, Amazon, wherever you get your books from, really.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Amber. This has been lovely.
Thank you so much for having me.
Right? Raspberry tiramisu is the perfect thing for that kind of Italian feel easy dinner. Also would be great if you're doing anything for Labor Day long weekend next weekend. What a beautiful summer dessert. Thank you so much, Amber. Everybody go and have a look at that cookbook. It is Italian Coastal. And also check Amber out on Instagram. She's got a beautiful Instagram account with so much delicious food going on. Her Instagram is her name, Amber Guinness, all one word. Okay, so what is going on in my kitchen this week? I'm pretty excited. We are doing one of our big cooking days where we're taking a lot of pictures and videos, and we have an extra person joining us. It is a new film student who just finished her degree. She is joining our team and is helping us do some videos that have more of my face in them. I guess we do a lot of the videos like from the top. They're called hands and pans videos with my hands like doing the cooking, and we want to just get a little bit of my face talking, that kind of thing going on more. And so Grace is going to be joining us this week and taking some of those videos. If you see them in the weeks and months ahead, then you'll know that it went well. If you don't see them, it is because it didn't. I don't know what to expect. I'm like, oh, geez, do I have to wear makeup for the cooking day? Oh, what do I wear? And like all that kind of thing. I know I'm supposed to just keep it real on social media and not get fussy, but I also am a little self-conscious about what my unfussy self might be. So I'm feeling a little bit apprehensive, but also excited. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to have Grace with us, and Jen's over, and we're doing a lot of cooking. So the thing I am most looking forward to that we are making this week is the broccoli cheddar pickle dip. It's so good. I can't even. The original inspiration was from a spinach artichoke dip, which I really like, but Marty doesn't like. He doesn't like artichokes. He doesn't really like Parmesan. And so I was like, okay, I want like a vegetable dip that has something briny and salty like the artichokes, but not that. And so the broccoli is like the spinach. The pickle is like the artichoke. And then instead of the Parmesan, it's cheddar because broccoli. And it is just addictively delicious. So good. We're doing that video this week, and we're doing a pork and beef meatloaf. The reason for that is I have all those meatloaf recipes over on the Cookful, and I regularly get asked by people if they can put pork in with their beef in the meatloaf. And the grocery stores sometimes sell those like meatloaf packs that have the pork and the beef. So that recipe is just getting those amounts down for everybody. And then I think we're going to play around with some other stuff. There's some different like tips and tricks that I just want some quick videos of. So not so much recipes, but like ideas. And yeah, so that's what we're going to be doing in the kitchen this week. And what do we have going live? I told you that baked lemon garlic shrimp is going live on Cook the Story on Monday. And on the Cookful, we have Mexican grilled chicken, juicy and delicious. This one has an easier marinade than the Mexican chicken marinade I told you about recently, but it's a similar idea. And this one has the instructions for grilling the chicken so that it is extra juicy and delicious. So that is going live on the Cookful on Monday. And then as to what I'm telling you about on this podcast this week, every day I've got another delicious recipe for you. We are doing some short ribs this week. Oh, one of my favorite garlic bread recipes. The baked lemon shrimp is there for sure. So is the Mexican grilled chicken. And a nice air fryer vegetable. That is one that me and my bonus teenager both are enjoying. And a riff on a shrimp cocktail. So lots of delicious things coming your way. Make sure you are subscribed to this podcast. Go on your phone to your favorite podcast app, wherever you listen to podcasts, and search for Recipe of the Day. You will find me there. I want to say a big thank you to Amber Guinness for being an amazing guest. Guys, go and check out our cookbook, Italian Coastal, and find her on Instagram, Amber Guinness. And a big thank you to you for listening. I'm Christine Pittman from cookthestory.com, thecookful.com, the all-new chicken cookbook, and from this podcast, Recipe of the Day. I hope you have a great weekend. Let's get cooking.